Please direct your attention to the results screen.
Oops. Kind of forgot to start talking. Hello everybody. Welcome back to Let's Play Virtue's Last Reward. Last time we did the third AB game of this branch, where beforehand Tenmyouji said we could trust him and Quark to choose ally, so we chose ally as well. Other things that happened, we saw a hologram of Zero. It's apparently an old man. He told us about termites and a bomb code. So that's interesting. Yeah. But anyway, let's see the results. What?
Points have been assigned or subtracted accordingly. Please check your bracelet to see your updated bracelet.
Oh my god. The Clover's getting out too. What? Okay, so the moral of this branch, don't ever trust Tenmyouji. Hey, what the hell, guys? Why'd you betray me?
Quark had nothing to do with this. I made the vote.
Grandpa.
Alright, fine. Why'd you break your promise, Tenmyouji?
I only promised you one thing. We wouldn't open the number 9 door, even if we got 9 points.
What? So you're not going to leave? You fucking liar. I guess he's like, no, I promised that. You didn't ask me to promise on ally.
Not what I said.
What?
Of course we're going to leave.
What?
Look. See Clover over there?
What? Don't tell me.
That bitch!
Wait. Quark and Tenmyouji have...
The words were barely out of her mouth when Tenmyouji and Quark ran past.
No! God damn it!
Clover, are you really going to leave?
Well, yeah. Why else would I open the door?
But why?
I'm going to go call the others, so we can capture Zero Senior.
Tenmyouji, are you and Quark going too?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Sorry, everybody.
So Sigma, happy? I kept my promise. Clover opened the door, not me.
Oh my god. Like hell, I'm happy. That's some shady shit, Tenmyouji.
You say so. I have to get out of here, and that's that. He's got to pay for what he's done. He? Zero.
You mean you know who Zero Senior is?
Yeah. No point keeping it a secret now, I suppose. I know exactly who Zero Senior is.
What?
The number 9 door has been opened. It will remain open for 9 seconds.
Let's go. Come on, guys. Time to move.
Right.
Oh, wait! This is for you, Mr. Sigma.
Quark held something out. I looked down to see 2 pieces of folded paper. What is this?
It's a letter. I wrote it in the director's office before the AB game. I wanted to tell you what kind of guy Grandpa is.
A liar?
So, read it, okay?
He pressed it into my hand.
See you later, Mr. Sigma.
Then he turned and ran toward the door, Tenmyouji and Clover following in his footsteps. I was so surprised by the letter that I didn't even try to stop them before I could think of anything to say.
See you.
Goodbye.
The number 9 door has closed. This ends the nonary game. Thank you for your participation. As the game is over, all doors other than the number 9 door have been unlocked. Escape is not possible. Please enjoy your stay.
That was so shady.
Shit! They're gone.
All we can do now is hope they bring help back.
Indeed.
I agree.
I looked down at Quark's letter and slowly unfolded it. His handwriting was still slightly uneven, but he filled both pages with writing. I began to read. It was a really stormy day when he found me. He said the rain was coming down so hard it almost hurt, but somehow he managed to hear a baby crying. I guess I must have been crying pretty loud. He took me home and did his best to raise me, but he'd never been married or had a kid before, so I think it was really hard for him. So then who was the woman? He couldn't figure out how to mix the formula, so he was always carrying the directions around with him. Also, I guess I was a pretty picky eater, so if he didn't get the water to formula ratio just right, I wouldn't eat it. I guess I was kind of a pain, huh? Why, are they going to try to make me feel sorry for him? But he didn't give up, and now here I am. When he found me, I was really, really small, and he was worried that I might not make it. That's why he named me Quark. A quark is a really, really small thing, and I was really, really small too. Grandpa didn't need to worry though, because it turned out that I was pretty tough. When I was 1, he forgot I was sleeping in the bed of his truck and drove off. I rolled out and went off the back, but I didn't even get scratched. I started walking when I was 2, and when he wasn't looking, I fell down the stairs. I didn't get hurt then either. When I was 3, I got really sick. Had a super high fever for a week, but eventually I got better. I guess you could say I'm pretty lucky. Anyway, I didn't really have any more accidents after that, and I was a pretty healthy kid. By the time I was 6, I'd started helping Grandpa out with his work. His job was to gather junk from abandoned buildings. Then he'd fix it up or pull out the useful parts and sell them. There were plenty of abandoned buildings, but finding good stuff in them was hard. You had to know which parts were useful, or you could end up wasting a bunch of time. Every time I'd find something, he'd explain to me what it was, how it was supposed to work, how to fix it, all sorts of things. Usually, though, I just wanted to finish up work so I could go to the theater. The theater came to our town once a week in a wagon. They'd show old news or movies. I went every single week, but Grandpa only went once in a while, and he'd only go weeks when they showed movies. Oh yeah, I didn't know that I'd been adopted until I was 7. One of the other kids on my block told me. I guess after Grandpa found me, he looked all over town to try and find somebody who'd take me. The kid from my block actually had a mom, and he'd asked her if she would take me too. I gotta admit, I was pretty shocked when I heard that. There weren't a lot of kids with parents around, so hearing that someone lived with his actual mom was pretty impressive. I was also kind of surprised that Grandpa had tried to get someone else to take me. Did that mean he didn't want me? The kid who told me about Grandpa trying to get rid of me was a real jerk. He was totally spoiled, and he bragged to everybody about how he had a mom. He liked to come up to me while I was working and say stuff like, "Must be hard not having a mother." It never bothered me before, but after I found out that Grandpa had adopted me, I started to think that maybe he didn't really want me. If I could work on my own, then he could get rid of me. I was scared to know the truth, so I never asked him. Then one day he took me to a bar in our neighborhood. During the day, of course. He went there sometimes to drink scotch, but I'd never gone before. When we got there, he just walked up to the counter with that grumpy look of his, or he has. And I thought, oh no, he's going to make me work here. But I was wrong. I saw him pass something to the bartender, and then he picked me up and set me on a stool next to the counter. The stool was pretty high, especially for a 7-year-old kid, and my legs just dangled off of it. It seemed really, really high to me, and I was pretty nervous. Eventually the bartender came back over with a glass of scotch and another big glass full of something else. As I looked closer, I realized that the second glass was full of some sort of brown liquid with a scoop of ice cream in it. It took me a minute to realize what it was. A root beer float. I had never seen one before. I was so surprised. Root beer was even more expensive than the nicest alcohol in the bar. To me and the other kids, it seemed more like an urban legend than a real drink. But there it was, right in front of me. I stared at the float. I still wasn't sure it was real at that point, then turned to look at Grandpa. He looked back at me. I didn't know what to do, so I turned to the bartender. He'd already turned around and moved off, though, so I figured he must have put the glass down in front of me on purpose. It still didn't seem like it could be real, and I was just staring at it when Grandpa told me to hurry up and drink it before the ice cream melted. His gruff voice sounded like an angel's. "Is this really mine?" He nodded. Words can't describe how awesome it was. I had never tasted anything like root beer before. The creamy sweetness of the ice cream made my entire head feel light. I felt like the luckiest boy in the whole world. That's not an exaggeration. I really thought that. The root beer float was delicious, but what made me even happier was Grandpa. When I looked over at him, he was smiling. I know that's got to be hard for you to imagine, but he really was. Right then, I didn't care whether he'd just found me and adopted me or not. He bought me a root beer float. That made me way luckier than some kid who had a mother but it never tasted root beer. Of course, after we left the bar, he was the first kid I bragged to. So Grandpa and I were doing pretty good. Until the fight. I was in a super bad mood that day. I had torn one of my shoes that morning, and some old drunk guy had yelled at me. All the junk I found was totally useless. The day was almost over, and I was fed up, so I just grabbed some random trash and took it back to the house. When I showed what I found at Grandpa, he frowned. He started going through each thing I'd brought back, explaining why they were all useless. I got really mad and just yelled, "I don't care." Then he got mad, and I couldn't take it anymore, so I ran away. I was pretty upset, and I started thinking that maybe Grandpa had only adopted me so he could raise me to work and make money for him. After a while, I went and hid in an abandoned building, but by then I started to calm down and think that maybe I should go back and apologize. It had started raining pretty hard though, so I decided I should wait for it to stop. But that was just an excuse. The truth was that I was nervous. Part of me knew I'd done something wrong, but I didn't want to admit it. The rain didn't stop though. So I just sat there staring out at the gloomy gray sky. I imagined Grandpa coming to get me. It kept raining all night and he never showed up. I gave up waiting and decided it was time to go home. I was about halfway there when I heard somebody groaning. At first I thought I should just ignore it and not get involved, but I went over anyway and it was Grandpa. He was totally soaked and I could tell right away that he'd been there for a really long time. I yelled and he opened his eyes a little bit. He smiled weakly and said he was glad I was safe. He spent all night out in the rain looking for me. I felt awful. Grandpa had been out in the rain looking for me so long that he'd collapsed. I was horrible. He'd heard me crying in the rain, but I hadn't heard him. As I ran to get the doctor, I promised whatever God might be listening that if they would only save Grandpa, I'd never ask for another root beer float ever again. He got a real bad fever and his temperature wouldn't go down for days. The doctor said that if it kept up, he'd die. If he died, then I'd be all alone. There wouldn't be anybody left to care about me. The thought of that happening terrified me. Fortunately, I must have passed some of my luck on to Grandpa, because a week later his fever finally broke. I was glad he wasn't going to die, but I was also a little scared. What if he had decided he didn't want a stupid kid like me around anymore? My plan was to apologize as soon as he woke up, but when the moment came, my brain just stopped. Grandpa started to talk, and it took me a minute to realize he was apologizing. I didn't know what to think. He'd explained that he was an old man, and that moment he was probably going to die sooner rather than later. He was strict with me because he wanted to make sure I'd be able to make it on my own after he was gone, but maybe he'd been a little too strict. All the things I'd worried about had been stupid and selfish. Grandpa cared about me a whole lot. He'd been worried when I ran off, and he'd gone out into the rain and looked for me. I tried to apologize, but when I opened my mouth, I just started crying. I don't think I've cried that much since I was a baby. But he just smiled and patted my head. I asked him if he'd ever regretted adopting me. His eyes got all wide and he said, "Of course not." He told me that he was looking for a really important lady, and because of that he had to give up on pretty much everything else in his life. But when he took me in and started raising me, he felt like he'd gotten some of what he lost back. That was when I decided I'd stay with him forever, even if he said I couldn't. Is that supposed to make me feel better? It don't. Really? That's not satisfying of an ending. Huh. We got his backstory at least. But there's... two points along there? Screw it. Let's see what happens.
Results from please direct.
That stayed the same. Of course. Why would Luna agree to that, though?
Points have been assigned. Please check.
So now it's just going to be Clover leaving, right? Hey, what's the deal?
Do with it. I entered the vote.
So why'd you choose Betray?
Couldn't I ask you the same thing? I don't really think this is the time for a fight, though. Look, Clover's over by the door.
What? Oh no. I'm guessing this is gonna be the exact same,
The number 9 door.
only without us
Fuck, she opened it.
learning about Tenmyouji.
Why?
Clover, wait!
Clover, what the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm going to call the others.
What?
I'll get justice for Alice.
Justice? Wait, do you mean...
The number 9 door. It will remain.
Time for me to go. No! Please, Clover, wait!
Like hell, I'm just gonna let you walk out of here.
Dio leapt at Clover, his fists raised. Clover easily avoided him and moved toward the door.
Goodbye.
Caught one last glimpse of her face as she slid through the door. It was a mask of ice.
The number 9. This end. Thank you. As the game is over, escape it. Please enjoy.
And then that just ends there? Yeah, okay. So, still just unsatisfying. Tenmyouji is a bitch for that one, man. I have just nothing really to say. That was like, you can't trust anybody. Oh. But that pretty much covers everything for if we would choose Tenmyouji. Yeah, I'm going to assume that's a dead end next to Clover, to the right of Clover. And then, like, the middle thing is that has a lock that we can't open. And then right here in between the longer path and that middle one that's slightly longer, I'm going to assume that's a game over as well. Maybe? I don't know. Either way, Tenmyouji is a straight up bitch for that. I guess next time we can start a new loop. I'm going to examine the spoiler-free guide again. Part of me kind of wants to see what happened if we choose Luna at the start. She's like the one remaining one we never like teamed up with. So that'd be interesting. But yeah, next time we're starting a new loop. I don't have much to say on Tenmyouji's ending. At least Clover's kind of had like the intrigue going, but that one was just like, yeah, I know my granddad lied to you, but here's why he's a good person. He gave me a root beer float. I mean, they're only like $2 at an A&W, $1.79 at a Wendy's, but hey, it was a delicacy. Whatever. But yeah, that's it from me. That was... Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. See you next time for some more Let's Play Virtue's Last Reward. Goodbye.